ready? Good afternoon. I want to welcome everybody to a Housing Committee meeting. Today is Wednesday, February the 14th. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone, if no one said that to you yet. Let me be the first. Also, I know many of you have personal religious commitments to go to this afternoon, and I want to make sure we have a prompt, efficient meeting and make sure we do all the things we have to do. We have public comment first, and we're going to go. I have Wayne, you're first. Patricia's second. It's either one of you who's ever ready can come up if you're prepared.
All right. Yeah, that's good. And that was a good opera there for, what is it here, Wednesday, the special holiday. And to greet the holidays in Armenian. So that's the least I can do. So now, item one, I have a general manager report, LA Food and many mansions. Yes, we should be getting the homeless in mansions. Yes, I fully support that. Put the homeless in those mansions. Absolutely yes on item one. So two, the administrative code, HHH. I'm always here to bitch about how HHH is being handled because Miguel Santana is a retard and he's taking that money and he ain't doing nothing. So yes, give it to Cedillo and get him in it and that goddamn Santana out of there because he ain't getting no housing built. Number three, submission of findings, housing and urban development. Stay away from the federal government right now. They're not happy with City Hall. At least a year. Don't apply for any federal housing funds for at least a year because, you know, they want their $912 million in that recent lawsuit. You know, you got a big tab there. And yes, and I agree with Councilman Krikorian. I agree. So number four, a request for a revolving microloan fund. Yes, and definitely in that motion, definitely $435,000 to Mr. Spindler for his settlement. Yes, thank you for that. And then number five and number six. Oh no, running out of time. Yeah, 2 minutes. So do I get a general 1 minute?
That is your limit. You have 1 minute for me.
Oh, okay,
1 minute
cool.
for general. You're
1 minute for general. Okay, is I take it out? Okay. Yeah. Anyway, we're missing the third member of our group here.
Mr. Chair, he's done. He has 2 minutes total. He's done.
What?
It's 1 minute, I think.
He had 2 minutes. 1 minute for multiple. 1 minute for general.
What?
A total of 2 minutes. He has already used his 2 minutes.
I get 1 minute for everything and 1 minute for general?
Those are the council rules.
That don't sound right.
Okay.
No, you can't do that, right? I get 2 minutes for the items and 1 minute for general, right? That's the way I always get it, right?
Have a seat, Wayne. It's her minutes now.
It's the work of Paul Krikorian. Oh, man. Oh, that's terrible.
Ms. McAllister, it's 1 and 1
Okay,
today.
I thought we got more time, but let me get started. Item 3 here, the Cdbg, the Community Development Block Grant. I do have the letter from HUD, and the letter is dated November 28, 2017, and it's to the city, and that was just, 2-3 months ago. And here, you're in bad shape with HUD. I don't know what to say about you guys, but here, they're talking about the projects and money that the city owes, has to pay back, the Crenshaw Gateway. Here, dispersed you over $2,218,000. Watts Cinema, you got to pay money back there. You misappropriating all this money. Let's talk about the Westlake Theater, $2 million. The city will, HUD says the city will reimburse the city's Cdbg line of credit with non-federal funds totaling $2 million for reprogramming in a subsequent annual or amended plan. Ginster Capital Improvement, mismanaged money there. Valley Economic Development, Cdbg 63,307. The city will reimburse the city's Cdbg line of credit for $84,000 with non-federal funds for the 2 activities for reprogramming in a subsequent annual. Goodyear Track Brownfields, you got to reimburse $337,000. Public Service Cap, $927,000. American Women's Economic Development, the city will reimburse the city's Cdbg line of credit for $205,000 with non-federal funds. Here, Community-Based Development Organization, you got the Reprise Center, $4,430. These are items that were canceled. Activities, Central Avenue undergrounding. I can go on and on and on. You know what I was thinking today? I was taking a walk, and I've been too hard on you guys. I think you're not very intelligent. That's what I think. All of this right here, all this money, and you trying to ask HUD to give you 3 years to pay it back and all that. We're going to do something about this committee.
Thank you.
That concludes public comment. You can go to item 1 if you wish.
Okay, good. Item 1, motion, you want to read it?
Item number 1, motion Rodriguez Buscaino, instructing the general manager of the Los Angeles Housing and Community Investment Department, in consultation with the Office of the City Attorney, to prepare and execute any documents necessary to facilitate the disposition and development agreement with LA Family Housing and Many Mansions for the property located at 11681 West Foothill Boulevard in Sylmar, California.
Colleagues? Any questions? Anybody need to hear? Receive and file? Motion to receive and file?
Approved. Do you wish to approve it?
Yes. Okay.
Item 2.
Item number 2 is a city attorney report and draft ordinance relative to adding Article 25 to Chapter 1, Division 10 of the Los Angeles Administrative Code to require a project labor agreement for Proposition HHH funded projects. This item was heard in Homelessness and Poverty Committee on February 7th.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Meg Barclay, City Homeless Coordinator. After discussing with the City Attorney after the Homelessness and Poverty Committee last week, we discovered that a correction needs to be made to that amendment that was made in committee. So we would just recommend that Section 10.51.8 of the proposed ordinance be amended to specify that the article shall apply to all permanent supportive housing and facilities construction projects that receive Proposition HHH letters of commitment dated on or after January 1st, 2018. And I can provide this language to the clerk.
Colleagues? Okay, motion to accept the amendment.
For the record, you concurring with the previous committee, Homeless Committee?
Yeah.
And my understanding is that this item will be in council on Tuesday. We're still waiting for the revised ordinance to come in from the City Attorney.
So be the order? Maureen? See, sir.
Sorry. Hi, Ms. Suarez, Deputy City Attorney. And just for the record, once we get the instructions from council, then we'll submit the ordinance.
That will be the instruction from council for you to prepare and submit the revised ordinance.
Okay.
Item 3.
Thank you.
Okay.
Item number 3 is a City Administrative Officer and Los Angeles Housing and Community Investment Department reports relative to the submission of findings to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development regarding previous community development block grant projects. This item has also been referred to Budget and Finance Committee.
Good afternoon. Shafi Amir from the Office of the CAO and Julie O'Leary with Housing and Community Investment Department. The CAO report before you addresses the Housing and Community Investment Department's transmittal regarding a request for authority to submit a draft letter to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, to resolve audit findings regarding previous city community development block grant Cdbg projects found to have been incomplete or otherwise ineligible for grant funds. In their draft letter, HCID proposes a repayment plan over 3 years for a total amount of $5.9 million, and HCID also requests, upon acceptance by HUD the allocation of $5.9 million in general fund for the repayment to HUD. HCID's over a 3-year period. HCID's draft letter to HUD finds that approximately $8.3 million total is owed to HUD for monitoring and review findings dating from 2011 through 2017, and that approximately $2.7 million from the proceeds of property sales originally acquired with CDBG funds is available for repayment through reimbursement to the line of credit in the comp plan. This leaves a balance of $5.9 million still owed to HUD by the city. The CAO concurs that $5.9 million is owed to HUD to resolve the audit and monitoring review findings. And our report before you presents 2 options for repayment, which our office wanted to make council aware of. Our report recommends for the council to select one of 2 options for repayment to HUD. The recommendations under option A approve HCID's request to utilize general fund to repay HUD for the total amount of the $5.9 million and give authority to HCID to submit the draft letter attached to their transmittal to HUD. And the recommendations under option B would approve repayment of the $5.9 million as either a reduction of the city's CDBG allocation or a combination of the grant reduction and general fund repayment over a 3-year period with the amounts as determined by council. And it also direct HCID to amend their draft letter accordingly and submit it to HUD. Both options instruct HCID to report back upon response from HUD for the implementation. In cases where grantees of the CDBG grant owe substantial repayment to HUD for ineligible grant expenditures, HUD offers an option for the grantee to request reduction in future CDBG allocation in lieu of direct repayment, along with an explanation of its inability to repay from non-federal funding sources. Through the previous 5 program years, the federal CDBG allocation has trended downwards in general. And as a very general estimate by our office, the city's general fund has assumed or been requested to assume support of former CDBG costs in the amount of at least $13 million annually ongoing for both program and administrative con-plan expenses. This is separate from the current issue, i.e. the funds owed to HUD due to the audit findings. The CAO anticipates a general fund impact for both options A and B as funding has not been budgeted for this item. Of the $5.9 million owed, approximately $300,000 is owed directly to the U.S. Treasury due to the specific type of finding. It was from the Office of Inspector General, and it can't be offset with a reduction to the grant. Option A is repayment of the full amount from general fund, and option B allows the council's discretion to select a combination of CDBG allocation reduction and general fund should they choose. That concludes my remarks, and if HCID has anything further, we can take your questions as well.
Corey? Questions at the moment? You'll get an opportunity. This will go before your committee. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Do you wish to approve one of the options? There's 2 options before you.
And the department does have a position if you'd like to hear that on option A, or 1 versus 2, or A versus B, if you'd like to hear that.
Sure.
Yes. We are strongly in support of option A and not in favor of option B. We have been, as I'm sure you're aware of, working hard to improve the city's relationship with HUD. And given the guidance that HUD has submitted or issued several years ago, we're concerned in one matter that we'd have to demonstrate that the city was unable to pay that with non-federal funds, which I'm told represents 0.3% of our budget. And it would also affect our public service cap, which currently funds our Department of Aging Services, our Family Source Center, and our domestic violence shelter operations. And so that is part of what we've indicated to the CAO would, if it was spread over 3 years, in total would be a reduction with those caps of nearly $700,000 a year, or $2 million in total for the public services as well as staffing costs. We've been working hard on cleaning up a lot of the audit issues. We have been meeting with council staff, with city departments to track CDBG projects more closely during the year, improve on timeliness, which we did meet, by the way, this year, just barely, but did meet. But for example, HUD held our grant agreements from October of this year until December because of outstanding HUD audit issues, and they built special conditions into our grants for this year to address the issues that the city has. And so we're really concerned about our continued how our continued relationship is with them. We've also been working on revising the CDBG expenditure plan, or policy, excuse me, that was part of what was put in council action as part of the year 43 report. We have it right now trying to get some comments from departments that receive CDBG. It was a policy that the City Council and Mayor approved last in 2003 that's in need of updating regarding how the city's been managing CDBG based on what we've been learning. Finally, we also have been working on trying to have more multi-year planning, and we've been talking with a lot of council staff and departments on trying to use more of a Prop K model where there's a planning over multiple years, where it's not just for 1 year, but that we're looking at trying to plan if grant funds become available. So trying to put a lot of things in place, and concerned about reductions to the grant over 3 years, both overall and then for the public services and administrative side as well. So we are very much in support of option A over option B.
So be the motion?
Support option A.
Option A. Option A? Objection?
So for the record, option A is your, what you're recommending for approval. This item has also been referred to Budget and Finance Committee, so Mr. Krikorian will be scheduling that in committee. It has a significant impact.
Okay, great.
Item 4.
Item number 4 is a City Administrative Officer and Economic Workforce Development Department reports relative to a request to establish a revolving microloan fund program funded by Community Development Block Grant Funds. This item was heard yesterday in Economic Development Committee.
Good
How's the
afternoon.
virtues of this great innovative plan here?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, committee members. I'm Daisy Hernandez with the Economic and Workforce Development Department.
Shafi Amir from the CEO's office. Yeah, I'll go ahead. So there's the CEO report before you is regarding EWDD's request to establish and implement a new microloan program for micro enterprises and small businesses funded by Federal Community Development Block Grant funding approved in Program Year 43 Consolidated Plan with the program period of April 2017 through March 2018. The approved CDBG funding is in the amount of $250,000 for the program year 43, and EWD requests to establish the program as a revolving loan fund. The terms and parameters of the loan program are included in EWDD's transmittal dated January 12, 2018, and would be subject to federal CDBG regulations as other programs funded by comp plan funding. Our office recommends approval of EWDD's request to establish and implement the program. We also recommend for EWDD to provide biannual reports to Council and Mayor on the status of the program. And that's it. We can take your questions.
And I believe that Economic Development Committee also made an amendment on this.
Yes.
Can you please, for the record, specify what that amendment is?
I believe they, in the recommendations for the loan amounts, and that would be in the CAO report, recommendation 1B, they changed the $10,000 figure to $5,000. So
the minimum loan amount will be $5,000 instead of $10,000.
Yep.
Okay.
And Mr. Chair, the idea behind this was that it would benefit the street vending community.
Yes, of course. Greater access. Questions? Comments?
Question, small detail, not speaking to the core of the project at all. I see that the account will be held at Union Bank. Just quickly, how did we arrive at that, and what do we get out of that, given the number of banks in Southern California?
Okay, so originally, we were holding funds for the Section 108 loan program through Wells Fargo. Then the account was moved to Union Bank a few years back. That's the bank that Economic and Workforce Development is using for depositing Section 108 money, which is tied to the Cdbg program. So we figured since that account is already in place, it'd be easier for us to just use the same bank consistent with the Section 108 loan program.
No, I asked the question because I just wonder if there's any consideration for how that bank is located throughout the city, or what their presence is or isn't.
Their footprint.
Yes, footprint is the proper term I'm hearing.
Okay. Really, I believe when the account was set up a few years back, I don't know how the bank was vetted, but if you'd like for me to get that information, I can definitely report it back to you.
Thank you.
Right. I share these concerns, both the footprint, the availability, accessibility. I think coming down to 5 is helpful. Was there thought also to perhaps other community-based credit unions, other organizations who are engaged in this activity right now who could use that type of infusion?
Right. Well, actually, the Union Bank account is not, Union Bank is not going to be providing loans. The loans will be underwritten and provided, funded by the city. The funds will be held by Union Bank. So.
No, I got it now.
Okay.
Okay.
We pay fees for that, right?
I'm sorry?
We pay fees to Union Bank for that, right?
I believe so. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'll look into it and get back to you on that.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, are you concurring with the Economic Development Committee's report?
Is it?
Are you concurring with the Economic Development Committee's report? Are you
concurring with the recommendation of Economic Development Committee? Thank you.
Yes.
Item 5.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 5 is a mayor report relative to the 44th program year of the Housing and Community Development Consolidated Plan, first year action plan.
Right. Good afternoon, council members. I'm Zita Davis, Executive Officer for Deputy Mayor Brenda Shockley, Economic Opportunity. The mayor's 44th program year Housing and Community Development Consolidated Plan budget was released on February 2nd. The consolidated plan budget was developed to meet 3 primary objectives: the development of urban communities, to provide decent housing and suitable living environments, and to expand economic opportunity for all city residents. The consolidated plan includes funding from 4 entitlement grants from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD. They are Community Development Block Grant, Cdbg, Emergency Solutions Grant, ESG, Home Investment Partnerships Program, HOME, Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS, HOPWA. Total funding for the 44th year is approximately $122 million, a decrease from last year. Attachment B in your packet provides a line item budget for the 44th program year. The consolidated plan has 5 budget categories for allocation. They are public services, economic development, housing and related programs, neighborhood improvement, and administration and planning. Similar to last year, applications for new projects were limited to the economic development category and neighborhood improvement. The Housing and Community Investment Department, HCID, and the Commission for Community and Family Services convened community meetings to inform the general public about the action plan process and to solicit their input. In October, 3 public meetings were held in East Los Angeles, South Los Angeles, and the Valley area. Outreach was also conducted, including to the 96 neighborhood councils, releases to the press. There were also outreach materials that were distributed in both English and Spanish. Spanish interpretation was provided at each of the meetings, with translation in other languages available upon request. There was also captioning for hearing impaired persons that was also provided. Attachment F provides a summary of public comments from each of these meetings. The city received nearly 100 requests, totaling approximately $98 million. As the Consolidated Plan Administrator, HCID reviewed all applications for funding eligibility and project readiness. Funding recommendations were based on department review of project eligibility and readiness, as well as alignment with the Consolidated Plan goals and community input. This year, the city continues to face a challenge with the timeliness of expenditures. HUD requires that the city retain no more than 1.5 times its annual CDBG entitlement 2 months prior to the end of the program year. HCID reports that as of February 11th, the city has met timeliness ratio of 1.5 times the city's CDBG entitlement. Currently, the city's CDBG letter of credit equals 1.4 times the city's annual allocation. Each program year, it is critically important that that CONPLAN projects are shovel-ready. Attachment D, CDBG Future Priority Projects, is a multi-year future projects priority funding list. This list is often considered first when the city is reprogramming funds or planning for future entitlements. Projects which are anticipated to be shovel-ready may be placed on the list and funded when they are ready to begin. HUD has issued guidance to grantees advising not to submit their action plan until their fiscal year 2018 allocations formulas have been announced. In discussions within the CDBG working groups, which consist of the CLA, the CAO, HCID, and the Mayor's Office, the recommendation is to continue the approval process to ensure that the city's plan is ready to be submitted as soon as HUD permits. Last year's allocations were announced in June. So the Mayor's Office looks forward to working collaboratively with the Council on this process. Thank you for your time this afternoon, and I'm available and happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
I just want to say that the outreach effort and the assessment of needs is terrific, and it's good to see this much data about the needs of our city across the city, so that's helpful. I'm kind of stunned, as I am every year, by the decimation of federal support for these programs. And if I'm reading this correctly, does this actually say there's a 41% reduction in HACWA funding, for example? I mean, that's almost impossible to imagine. So we're scraping by with most of these programs, limited resources and not enough funding as it is. To have this kind of slashing of federal funding is it's sobering. So, but
Agreed.
But I have it's a good list and no questions on the actual approval of the list.
Good list. Like my colleague, Mr. Krikorian, it's just a real, live, tangible example that elections matter.
Yep.
Real dollars and cents, and from people who are the most vulnerable, and who the removal of these supports have much more material and consequential impacts. So, just for the record, that matter.
I will reserve my comment. What's the action? Is that right or a typo? 44th, right? So the recommendation is to instruct the CLA to report on the mayor's proposed 44th program year con plan and meet with city departments and council districts as necessary. Is that it?
Second.
Second? So be the order? Thank you. What's left?
The last item is item 6.
Item number 6, City Administrative Officer and Los Angeles Housing and Community Investment Department reports relative to the Second Amendment to Cooperation Agreement number 125926 with the Community Development Commission of the County of Los Angeles for regional affordable housing listing service.
Good afternoon. My name is Isaiah Smith with with the CAO's office. Our office requests authorization for HCID to negotiate and execute a Second Amendment to a cooperation agreement with the Community Development Commission of the County of Los Angeles and Emphasis Computer Solutions. Our report has made technical corrections to their recommendations. We concur with their request as amended. There will be no impact to the general fund. I'm available for any questions.
We're good. Yes, sir.
Yeah, first question is, why is there no impact to the general fund if we're increasing the contract amount by 100,000? It's special funded?
It's all special funds.
Okay. So I have kind of a, I know there's a good answer to this, but I have a basic underlying question on this whole program. We have waiting lists as far as the eye can see for every affordable housing program that we have in the city. Why do we need to have a private contractor? Why do we pay a private contractor to go out and do listing services and outreach when we already have far more people on our waiting list than we could ever house in the next 20 years?
Britannia Murillo from HCID. That's a very good question. This is a central repository of information so that the public can find out about housing opportunities. So in addition, you're correct that there's the inventory that's listed so that if you wanted to find out about 123 Main Street and how you join the wait list, which sometimes are lengthy, they can have that information. But new projects are also being listed on the website. So if you find out about that new project that has new funding from the department, you'll find information on the property management company, what phone number, any specific restrictions related to income.
Okay, but, and again, this is really basic and fundamental, so forgive me, but what's the point? Why are we inviting people to, why are we providing that information if we don't have the housing to provide them? Everybody that's currently in the queue is going to have access to all of that housing before any newcomers on the list anyway, right? And
Well, one federal requirement is that we affirmatively market these properties.
okay.
So that is one primary reason, but it's also, we get a lot of questions at the housing department. How do I find affordable housing? And so this is not only a website, but also a hotline that the public can call and ask that information, for that information.
It's just, you get the concern, though, that, you know, when we're basically inviting people with a website and outreach and a big splashy thing done by a private contractor to apply for affordable housing, and then basically our answer is, well, you know, maybe your kids will have an opportunity to live in that affordable housing because you're not going to before you die. I just don't know how that serves any useful function other than to disappoint people and to make them mad at us because there's no positive response. So other than complying with the federal mandate, can you make me more comfortable with this?
In addition to complying with the federal mandate, I think one good place we can talk to is about the partnership that we have with the County of Los Angeles. So this is a repository of data that's not just LA City properties, it's also properties that were funded by the county. And again, this is a place where new projects, so no waiting list, 50 brand new units, if they come online, need to list there. So if you happen to be searching and you find that one particular property, that's an opportunity for you to apply and you would know about it then.
Okay, so you can, if a new project comes online, somebody can apply for that and essentially jump the waiting list and get in there?
No, so a new project would not have an established waiting list.
Project specific?
Exactly.
Okay, all right.
Yes. So maybe that's an important clarification, is that they're project-specific listings.
Okay.
It's not like there is a central wait list and you're going to be added to the bottom. It's different that way.
Okay, that clarifies. Thank you.
That was all my comments. Thank you. Approve the CAO's recommendations.
And also, Mr. Chair, for the record, it has been brought to my attention that for item 5, my understanding is they continue it in committee, and you're going to wait for the CLA to report to the committee before sending it forward. Okay, thank you. There's no other issues pending before the committee. Do you wish to adjourn?
Move to adjourn?
You bet.
I will be there. Okay. So be the order.